The crystal chandelier above the dining table caught the light as my mother's laugh. That particular laugh she reserved for subtle humiliation echoed through the room. "You're still driving that car?" She dabbed her lips with the linen napkin. "Honestly, at your age, it's embarrassing." The worst part wasn't the comment itself. I'd heard variations of it for 3 years. The worst part was watching my father nod in agreement while cutting his prime rib, completely unaware that the embarrassing car in their driveway was parked next to vehicles worth less than my weekly dividend checks. They had no idea, and I was about to let them keep mocking me for exactly 4 more minutes. Let me back up to where this all started. 3 years ago, I was working a regular corporate job, marketing analyst, decent salary, nothing special. My parents, my mother specifically, had always measured success by visible markers. The car you drove, the neighborhood you lived in, the brand names you wore. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a 2008 Honda Civic with 160,000 miles on it, and wore clothes from outlet stores. To them, I was failing. "Your cousin just bought a BMW," my mother would mention during our monthly dinners. "She's doing so well in pharmaceutical sales. The neighbor's daughter just moved into a condo downtown. Such a smart investment. You know, if you'd gone into finance like we suggested." 3 specific phrases I heard on repeat. "When are you going to get serious about your career?" "You're smart, but you need to show it." "We worry about your future." The gaslighting was subtle but constant. I was being responsible. I was planning for my future. They just couldn't see it. 2 years ago, my friend Roslyn, the only person who knew what I was really doing, met me for coffee. "Why do you keep letting them treat you like you're failing?" She stirred her latte with more force than necessary. "You know what you've built." I did know. For 18 months, I'd been taking every spare dollar and investing it. Not just stocks. I taught myself real estate investment, cryptocurrency, and dividend portfolios. I read 200 pages a day. I watched every tutorial, made connections with people who actually understood wealth building. By the time that coffee meeting happened, my net worth had crossed 7 figures. The Civic in the parking lot? Paid off. No car payment meant more money to invest. A modest apartment? Below market rent meant $1,400 extra monthly for my portfolio. The outlet store close? Who cares when your passive income is $8,000 a month? But I told no one, especially not my parents. "You should tell them," Rosalind said. "End this." "Not yet." I sipped my coffee. "I want to see how far they'll take it." 6 days later, my parents invited me to dinner. Family gathering, my mother called it. Dress nicely, we're having guests. The guests were their country club friends. This was about to be a performance. I pulled up in the Civic at 6:47 p.m. Through the window, I could see my parents' friends already seated. The Hendersons, the Patels, the Watsons, all the people my parents desperately wanted to impress. My mother opened the door before I could knock. "Oh," her eyes went to the car. "You drove that?" "It runs perfectly." "Please park it behind the garage. Jeffrey Henderson just bought a Tesla." I parked it directly in front. Dinner started normally enough. Small talk, wine, appetizers. Then Mrs. Henderson asked the question my mother had clearly planted. "So, dear, what are you driving these days? Car shopping is so exciting." My mother jumped in before I could answer. She's still in her old Honda, very practical. We keep telling her to upgrade, but you know young people these days. Different priorities. The table went quiet. Mr. Watson cleared his throat. Nothing wrong with being frugal. Frugal is smart, my father added, attempting diplomacy, but his tone said otherwise. Though at some point, you do need to invest in quality. I agree, I said quietly. I'm very focused on quality investments. My mother laughed. That laugh. Investments? Darling, you can't invest if you're barely getting by. Who said I'm barely getting by? Well, the car, the apartment. We're not judging, we just worry. Don't. The single word cut through the room. My father set down his fork. Excuse me? This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app. The one connected to just one of my investment accounts, not even my main portfolio. I turned the screen toward my mother. Her eyes focused. Then it widened. $847,329.42. That's... She blinked. That can't be yours. It's one of 5 accounts. I swiped to my stock portfolio. $1.2 million. Swiped again. Real estate holdings dashboard. $890,000 in equity across 3 properties I'd purchased as investments. The table was silent. My father reached for the phone. I let him take it. This is... His voice trailed off. How? By not buying a BMW. I took the phone back. Every dollar you thought I should spend on impressing people, I invested instead. For 3 years, while you mocked my car and my apartment and my lack of ambition, I was building actual wealth. Mrs. Henderson looked uncomfortable. Mr. Patel suddenly found his wine very interesting. My mother's face had gone pale. Why didn't you tell us? Because I wanted to see if you'd be proud of me for who I was, not what I drove. The answer hung in the air. My father cleared his throat. We never meant... Yes, you did. I stood up. Every dinner, every comment, every comparison to cousins and neighbors. You measured my worth by appearances. I walked toward the door. Wait. My mother's voice cracked. Please don't leave like this. I paused. I didn't leave, but I didn't sit back down either. You want to know the really interesting part? I leaned against the doorframe. 3 months ago, I quit my corporate job. I'm living entirely off passive income now. $11,000 a month on average. Some more months. My father set down his wine glass carefully, like it might shatter. You quit your job? To do what? My mother asked. Whatever I want. I'm learning photography, volunteering at an animal shelter, reading, traveling when I feel like it. Last month, I spent 2 weeks in Portugal, stayed in a small apartment, ate at local places, drove a rental car that probably would have embarrassed you. But that's not sustainable, my father started. It's completely sustainable. That's what you've never understood. Sustainability isn't about looking successful. It's about being successful in ways that don't require constant income. Mr. Henderson finally spoke up. What kind of returns are you seeing? And just like that, the energy shifted. For the next 20 minutes, their friends asked me questions, real questions, about investment strategies, about portfolio diversification, about real estate markets. My parents sat in silence. Mrs. Patel even took notes on her phone. You should write a blog, she said, or teach classes. People need to hear this. Maybe. I checked my watch. 8:32 p.m. I should go. This time, my mother didn't try to stop me, but my father followed me to the door. I'm sorry. 2 words I'd never heard from him in this context. For what specifically? I asked. He winced. For making you feel like you needed to prove yourself. For measuring your success by our standards instead of yours. For He gestured vaguely toward the dining room. For tonight. Your mother arranged this dinner specifically to show you how behind you were compared to our friends' children. I know. You knew? Dad, she's been doing it for years. This was just more explicit. He looked old suddenly, tired. What we did was wrong, he said. What I'm asking now is also wrong, but I'm going to ask anyway. Here it comes, I thought. Your mother and I, we have a situation. Of course they did. He explained. Bad investments. A vacation property they couldn't afford but bought anyway to keep up. Credit card debt. A car lease that was drowning them. We owe $67,000, he finished, and we don't have it. The irony was so thick I could taste it. So you need help, I said flatly. A loan. We'd pay you back. With what money? You just said you're drowning. He had no answer. I should have felt vindicated, triumphant. This was the exact scenario I'd fantasized about, them needing me after years of condescension. But standing there, looking at my father's defeated face, I just felt tired. I'll help you, I said. His head snapped up. Really? On 3 conditions. I held up one finger. First, you both take a financial literacy course. I'll pay for it, but you take it seriously. Second finger. Second, you sell the vacation property immediately. I'll help you prep it and price it right, but it goes. Third finger. Third, no more comments about my life choices, my car, my apartment, my career, my anything. You lost the right to judge my decisions when you made nothing but bad ones yourselves. He swallowed hard. Agreed. And Dad? I waited until he met my eyes. This is a gift, not a loan. Because if it were a loan, you couldn't pay it back, and I don't want this hanging over us forever. But you never ask me for money again. Ever. This is it. Thank you. His voice broke. I'll tell your mother. No, I shook my head. We're going to tell her together. Right now, in front of your friends. Because this is an important moment, and she needs to hear it in a context that makes it real. We walked back into the dining room. Everyone looked up. I have an announcement, I said. My parents need financial help, significant help, and I'm going to provide it. My mother's face went red. You don't need to. Yes, I do. Because this is the teachable moment you two have been trying to give me for years. Except the lesson is for you. I looked around the table at their friends. Real wealth isn't about what you drive, or where you live, or who you impress at dinner parties. It's about security, freedom, options. My parents forgot that. They spent decades trying to look successful instead of being successful. And now they're in a hole that's going to take years to climb out of. I turned to my mother. I'm giving you $67,000 to clear your debt. But the help comes with conditions Dad and I already discussed. And it comes with a reality check. Your friends know now. They know you were drowning while mocking me for being smart with money. The silence was absolute. Mrs. Patel finally spoke. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with more grace than most people would. I'm not doing it for grace. I picked up my keys. I'm doing it because they're my parents, but I'm doing it my way. I walked to the door for the final time that night. My mother called out, Will you still come to dinner? Next month? I paused. Maybe. If you can get through one meal without commenting on my car. Deal, she said quietly. 6 months later, my parents had sold the vacation property, paid off their credit cards, and completed the financial course. My mother sent me a text at 7:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. Your father and I bought a used car, paid cash. It's not fancy, but it's ours. Thank you for teaching us what we should have taught you. I drove the Civic, still running perfectly at 189,000 miles, to their house that weekend. We had dinner, just the three of us. No guests to impress, no comments about my life, no performances. My mother served pot roast. My father asked about Portugal. I'm planning another trip, I told them. Maybe Croatia this time. That sounds wonderful, my mother said. And she meant it. Here's what I learned from all of this. People will judge your success by their own metrics until you show them there's another way to measure it. My parents spent decades chasing appearances, and it nearly destroyed them financially. But the deeper lesson was about worth. My worth wasn't tied to their approval. It never had been. I knew what I was building, and that knowledge sustained me through years of subtle mockery. When the reveal finally came, it wasn't triumphant. It was just honest. And honesty, I've learned, is more powerful than vindication. The Civic is still in my driveway. I could buy 10 new cars tomorrow. But that old Honda represents something important. Proof that wealth isn't about what people see. It's about what you know. And I know exactly who I am, regardless of what I drive. My parents are learning that now too. Better late than never.